Well, good evening. Welcome to one of the conference semifinal matches in this really exciting series between the Titans Myths and Did You Check Your Boots? This actually promises to be a really exciting race. Not only do we have two amazing runners, Sailor Net facing off against Rampant Remnants, representing the Titans Myths and Did You Check Your Boots, respectively. This is game 4 of Hard Randomizer. I mean, you thought you were going to see anything basic, vanilla, everything enemies where they're supposed to be. You thought quite differently. We're in for quite the treat. Going to see our runners' reflexes right front and center in action. It's going to be really exciting with the match. I am Claire Mouse, joined actually by one of the fellow team members of the Titans Miss, Dante, who has probably won a randomizer, tournament or two. How's it going, Dante?
Oh man, I'm here. I'm nervous.
You're here.
I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. So yeah, maybe talking about it'll keep me a little cooler than just sitting here watching and not putting anything in chat, because that usually seems to just make my blood pressure skyrocket during these playoff races.
Dante, so I am looking at the little tracker scoreboard here, and I do believe, actually, Titans Miss, your team is actually up 2-1. So I hope that does alleviate a little bit of pressure for your team, right? Because if Nep ends up winning this one out, that will be a 3-1 series sweep. Then you guys will be able to advance to the finals. But if, of course, you're rooting for a Rev and Did You Check Your Boots and Tam and Warfjig, you really want Rev to pull a victory out of this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is going to be a super exciting match as we're starting to get underway. We saw Shovel there in Link's house, so that's something we might eventually do. And Rev is starting up at Sank, so we got a little bit of divergence here at the very start of this.
Okay, yeah, so I believe, actually, because your team was seeded higher than Did You Check Your Boots, because you were a Pendant of Power player, right, you got to take your first pick at the 4 different modes that we have available for games 3 and 4, which I believe you picked Swordless. So this way, it actually is Rev's pick for game 4, which I believe this is Hard Randomizer. So I guess any strategies, I guess, that maybe you had talked to Net before this game? Or you just let her loose?
Nah, let her do her thing. It is, play to your strengths the whole time if you can. And we got a map check here. I think that was a pendant over at Eastern.
Yeah,
I missed Desert.
I believe the rest of them were crystals, just regular crystals. I don't believe I saw anything red, and it looks like actually it's Nep right on cue, giving us a secondary confirmation that Desert was actually 2 crystal.
Shoutouts to Iker tracking for us today, getting
absolutely.
all that information much faster than I could have. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, I mean, it's league playoffs. It's a stressful time for everybody that wants to win. And at the same time, it's a lot of fun too, because you don't have to play the entire series all by yourself. So, but yeah, like we're kind of winding things down, I guess, trying to get to the conference finals. I guess we're in conference semis at the moment, but yeah, like this is, I'm looking forward to seeing how this race plays out, especially with the Hard Randomizer choice, because Randomizer's fun.
Yeah, it is certainly fun to watch. I absolutely agree with you. I'm not really sure if these runners are going to have a hard, as fun time playing this seed. I mean, but certainly it does actually certainly test our runners' abilities for both game knowledge, as we're actually demonstrating here on Rev's side. He happens to find a nice fish, and you know what? Typically speaking, the fish are nowhere to be found in Kakariko. So if you happen to catch a fish and bring it all the way back to the bottom limiter, he will give you so many goodies because he's just so happy to see this. Nep's actually doing the exact same thing. You saw that we're basically stocked up on resources. We got 20 rupees, we got a full magic drop, we got 8 bombs. We're probably gonna be set for the rest of the village.
Yeah, it's always a good heads up play when you can get one of those fish. You see Bombos there and another bottle in Blind's Hut. So 2 bottles for the runners already, in the first 5 minutes. That's kind of nice considering we are in the hard item pool. So if you watched any of the main tournament earlier this year, you'll be familiar with that pool, a max of 14 hearts. We're going to always be on green mail. There are no silver arrows, which could make boss fights a little interesting. Yeah, and I guess we just only get like a fire shield at best.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. Basically, every nice upgrade you have, swords, shields, actually with the exception of armor, it is basically capped at -1, right? So we really are only going to get tempered sword. Sure, neither of these runners are going to miss gold sword. We will get fire shell, I believe. Yeah, as you said earlier, though, we are capped at green mail. And actually, you mentioned these things about bottles, and actually, you'll see Rev actually picking up another heart container. So this is Randomizer. You know, these runners, among many others in the playoffs level at this point, very comfortable, of course, with low or lower percent. This is Randomizer. You can have quite the field day or adventure, both in the overworld and the underworld. So those bottles, especially for safeties, as we're seeing this really scary chicken hut, because those guards do quite a bit of damage.
Best chicken hut.
Yeah, this is exactly why we want some more extra safeties. But I mean, Rev actually making it out just barely alive is very well rewarded with our first glove.
Yeah, very important item here too with that glove. Nep deciding to bail. I don't blame her because things got off the rails really quick. In a second glove!
Oh my gosh, we have a second glove right next to Sikit. Okay, I guess, this is a good thing because we got 2 bottles. Really, an extra reminder for our runners to go visit Sikit. Of course, Nep picking up her first glove. Hopefully she will be able to eventually go back to Chicken Hut to pick up her mitts. Aptly named for her team. I am slightly disappointed that the Titans mitts were not first the mitts, Dante.
What can you do? It's Randomizer. And this makes sense out of Nep. I know, like, from playing the co-op week with her, that if you just can't, it's better to leave that item rather than take a death, especially when there's other things to be had. As we see the 300 there in library, Rev's going to be the first to give us a scout of race game, just a piece of heart. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see Nep continue and maybe use that shovel and figure out what's behind that, if anything.
Yeah, of course. From Race Game, this is probably going to be one of our best opportunities in order to check that dig spot. And as you actually mentioned earlier, Dante, the fact that Nep actually is bailing out early from Chicken Hut, that is actually quite the intimidating place, right? Every guard basically does 1 heart of damage. And taking an overworld death, I mean, it's pretty painful regardless, but especially here, right? We don't have really any real great mode of transportation, no boots, no flute, no hookshot, right? It's just going to be pretty painful in order to start your route over again. So very heads up play on Nep's side.
Yeah, I know she'll end up going back for that at some point, but looks like both runners are going to take a trip up the mountain here. We do have that lamp. We do have a glove. Nep actually going to prove me wrong and head on over and do back of escape. So we'll get a little divergence here and get some new checks on both sides.
Yeah, and so of course Nep does have 9 bombs. She just has to basically get through the enemies, which hopefully will just leave her alone so she can get to some safe haven and check to make these 3 checks. Oh man, and of course, on Rev's side, getting robbed already on the mountain because there is a thief right in our path. Oh my gosh,
and
talk about a death mountain.
Yeah, the mountain's pretty intimidating right now. But making use of that old man saving quit point and resetting all the falling rocks, always a good, smart play.
Yeah, and of course, not only, of course, resetting everything, right? The old man does give you a free full heal every time, so certainly going to be some pretty good safety as Rev's going to make his way up to Death Mountain. I also would like to point out that because we did find an early lamp, that's actually much more valuable than Randomizer, than probably other normal modes. It is, of course, our first fire source, but if you are brave enough to do Dark Room in Randomizer, that is more power to you, but that is certainly probably not going to be something that is as appealing to our runners here.
Yeah, for sure. I guess another thing we should point out about this mode, while we have a little bit of time, this is not like week 7. This is not going to be full ball shuffle. It's fully random, or chaos, as the community has called it in the past.
Chaos ball shuffle, interesting.
So we will potentially see like 5 Vitreouses. You never know. There's obviously some limitations on how, where Trinix can be in certain arenas and such, but it should be pretty fun to watch. We'll see what kind of shenanigans we get today.
Yeah, so I guess this is going to be a situation where the seed could give it and the seed could take it. So Nep actually here in what was previously known as Mini Moldorm Cave, we have Mini Shadow guide cave tier today. Does a really good job taking them down with bombs. I mean, it's a very difficult job to do. Basically, timed it pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see a Moon Pearl there. Rev will be getting that really soon. And then that's going to be Dark World access for, logical Dark World access for these two. Nep obviously will probably stick to some Light World checks just because of, the whole glove situation at the moment.
Yeah, and right, so we did also see Nep pick up not only the Moon Pearl from that cave, but also Green 20. So that is, of course, one of our hard item pool item replacements. So this early, because we don't really have much else, it's probably an armor upgrade at this point. So, you would have bet Blue Mail, maybe make things a little bit safer, but actually, sometimes, like the Randomizer actually could make some of the screens a little bit easier, actually, because those enemies actually do much less damage than 2 hearts, as per the original crabs.
All right, so Ice Rod Cave, just a piece of heart. But that's another container for these runners. Rev scoping out the cave here, gonna see what he can do with these shadow guys.
Oh no, Rev, oh my gosh. Here. Alright, he does have to be careful about getting 1.0. Luckily, he did not take an underworld death or cave death in this case. Definitely would not have been optimal, considering his Moon Pearl is also back here. Nep also, you know what? I was talking about doing, Dark Rooms Randomizer, being extremely brave. Nep has no fear, jumping straight into the water and Randomizer.
I'm scared.
Oh my gosh. Nep taking really great use of those iframes though. From Fake Flipper, manages to make her way into some out of sequence flipper checks for Waterfall Fairy. Hopefully this is gonna pay out for her.
Well, we'll get a free something in this bottle. It's a B. So that's something. So I wasn't wrong.
That is something. I mean, considering the fact that, we don't have a sword, we don't really have a weapon besides, I guess, more bombs that we could go buy somewhere. A B may not actually be so bad in the grand scheme of things.
That's true. I think that was a red boomerang there on
that's what it looked like.
Lake Helia Island, so I doubt we're going to see anybody go for that. Nep gonna continue this water walk and attempt to get to the man under the bridge.
Oh
Meanwhile,
my gosh!
Holy cow! Getting our first check of Skull Woods.
Oh man! All right, so we had a surprise spike guest come down. Nep reacting very well for that 20 rupee prize from Hobo. But yeah, here we are in the front of Skull Woods. Because as we did see earlier on Rev's side, he managed to make it out alive from Chicken Hut, which had our second glove in this case. So he had Dark World access, and he took it, and the one and only portal to get access to.
Yeah, and this is I think a smart play. With MIT's access, not really a quick way to go to CAC. Going ahead and checking Skull Woods, at least the front. You never know what could be here, so always nice to
you're right.
to check.
I guess I am kind of curious if other teams have as polarizing decisions or opinions about the front of Skull Woods, but you know what? Rev is here. Hopefully he will be able to get some value out of it. Looks like we unfortunately don't have any mirrors, so he's just going to wait for the Wall Master, which of course is static for every single Randomizer seed. It will never be shuffled out as a free trip back.
All right, so we got a bomb jump attempting to be set up here. This is quite tricky with swordless. You don't have that spin buffer. I think that might be a pixel too low. It was. Like, honestly, this is one of the hardest setups, I think. That one's right, so Rev should be good here.
Oh. No. Alright, well, okay, so the good news is that we are inside a dungeon, so Rev's death is merely just some health refill and a very minor time loss. Even though he is missing a couple bombs, not gonna be a big deal. He can always kind of replenish, especially, but it looks like he is gonna give up on the bomb jump, and oh my gosh, are we actually seeing how to get to the vanilla big chest the intended way?
I guess so.
Rarely seen content here.
I mean, look, no shame. This is what you got to do sometimes. Like, if progression's there and you leave it, like, when are you gonna come back for it? So
I absolutely agree. Especially when
just a
they're
map.
map. So far, I'm not actually sure if we actually saw any real items, or non-dungeon items, I guess. We're seeing a couple small keys, a map, a big key. So maybe we have one more shot at the back of the front of Slow Woods, which is the middle of the key chest location. Meanwhile, though, Nep making her way into Eastern Palace, unfortunately, right, does not quite have that glove yet, just being merely delayed. Hopefully she gets some better resources. Coming over here to Pendant Eastern, fighting a mushroom, which I'm going to assume that she'll probably turn that in sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think she's probably going to want to clear that out. You know, if you're rooting for Nep here, you definitely want to see something in this Pendant Eastern, given that Rev has that Dark World access. There's a high possibility we never see Rev come here.
Yeah, especially where Eastern's a pendant, right? We don't have, actually, we're so lacking on offense right now, but of course we also don't have really a mirror or anything like that, so chances are, if he wants to just do pod, he'll probably come here later, maybe to try and get some information. Some pretty, actually, a good decision, good reaction there on Rev's side, taking a bomb to kill that creep so he doesn't, you know, get basically bodied and rock more resources later.
Yeah, you know, runners a lot of times don't really like bomb escape in Rando. And this is just bomb stay alive for the, you know, the first 20 minutes of the seed.
Yeah, this is this. You know what? If you there ever a better time to try and hone in your random survival instincts, now is a absolute great time in order to activate it. Speaking of, though, thank you again for that great lamp. You actually can see Nep even taking a lesser seen top route over to the left side of Eastern Palace because, you know what? Normally there is a pretty harmless Popo. You know, they can dodge pretty easily, but yeah, not an Randomizer.
Yeah. We saw that that's...
Yeah, did you
I
have to catch the
did.
boss?
That's a Vitreous. So there's a Vitreous in Eastern. Should we need to fight that boss?
Alright, so yeah, that was actually a recent change in Randomizer, was that you actually, if you pick up the compass of the dungeon, and because this is, in this case, specifically Chaos Boss Shuffle, you will actually be able to see what actual boss you will have to fight if you choose to complete the end of the dungeon. Meanwhile, though, looks like, though, Rev finding a flute here in the Village of Outcast before heading into Pendant Thieves Town. So we can activate that the next trip when we're over here in Kakariko.
Yeah, and that'll be a nice, like, you know, we don't have boots yet, but it'll be a nice, you know, traversal item.
Yeah, and actually with the flute, with the myths on Rev's side, we can actually make a quick trip over to the Maya area pretty soon, if that is of interest to him at this point.
Yeah, that's true. We do have those mitts. So we can get that intel, at least.
Yeah, Rev is just trying to, oh my gosh, survive Thieves Town just to try and get this fourth chest, but you know, as we are seeing, Randomizer can cause quite the lag, but he is rewarded by making some pretty nice dodges with our first sword. That's going to be really nice for Rev, and not only for offense, for once, because we don't have to rely on bombs anymore, but we have now quite the amount of defense, because we can just stick our sword out, and nothing can hurt us until a light on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you like finding your first sword in Randomizer is obviously a little bit of that relieving feeling, you know, because you don't know what you're gonna get when you first open up the seed. But here's a bow too, so we're getting that offensive power finally coming in.
Yeah, so bow certainly actually could potentially point Rev over to the Eastern Palace area. I mean, you know, we still no mirror in order to try and do a combination with Pod and Eastern. Of course, also no hammer, which of course, you know, both Nep and Rev are feverishly looking for, because that is something that you would really like to have sooner rather than later. But, you know, we did see Nep kind of make a dip over to the Eastern Palace area. She did save some for a mushroom, but, you know, if the fact that Rev actually does have a bow, that actually might incentivize him to go over there.
Yeah, and both of these runners, we're kind of okay on rupees. You know, coming up here on Dig Game, that's $80 out of pocket. We're all set for, you know, potential hod money down the line here.
I guess I'm curious to see if a Rev decides to at least go back and maybe pick up the Smith. You know, he does have the flute. Potentially, he can pick up the Smith, save and quit, and then come back to Kakariko. Although it is still walking and it's mirrorless, so it could. But you know, if he's gonna make another trip over Kakariko, it is something that's potentially on his mind.
Yeah, and it depends on how thorough you want to be. And Rev's played this pretty well. The one big sticking point of the seed so far managed to come out of it. So, you know, I'd be surprised if he did skip Smith here, as we see him picking up the frog.
Yep. All right. So most likely, Rev's gonna make well, presumably his first, potentially not last, South Loop, South Dark World Loop, right? No mirror, so it means we have to kind of abandon Cave 45. But you know, we check out Stumpy, check out Hype Cave, maybe make our way over to Pyramid if he wants to. But meanwhile, Nep though, it looks like she is checking out the Desert Palace area. Probably gonna start with Akina. And maybe check the language, I guess I'm not sure.
What we've got right now for Nep is Agina and Front of Escape. And depending on her bomb layout, will depend on if she goes Front of Escape.
Oh, right. We do have... This is open mode. This is not standard.
Yeah, not standard.
Yeah. That is a very excellent reminder that we, in fact, have not only the Front of Escape, we also have Dark Cross. I don't believe we actually saw a small key there. But I think there was a map in the back of the escape. We did have synchronous red rupees. We're finding our second sword already from Hype Cave. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, having Master Sword, obviously, you know, not ideal, but is a nice to have. As you know, more offensive power is always what you want in a seed like this.
You're never gonna turn down a sword, like ever.
Never.
Of course, that, you know, yeah. So, of course, this is hard item pool. You know, there is, although there are 2 available swords still out there for Rev, of course, and for Nep as well. We are going to be capped once we find the Tempered Sword. Meanwhile, though, as you said, Dante, so Nep's options actually look pretty limited, right? She has the Front of Escape, and she is on 4 bombs. I hope she can...
She had 6, and then that thief said, you know what, I'm gonna take a few of those.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm actually not quite sure...
Ooh.
Dude, that is a really good find on Nep's side, finding the mirror in the map chest of Hyrule Castle. You know what, forget about Death Corping. We have a free ticket right back to the beginning.
So this is good and bad. As we see Rev activating his flute, turning in the Smith. You know, she could be thinking, I guess I gotta go to Hera next, because that's, you know, just without being able to clear it. So that's a potential.
Oh man, that is... You're right. You know, we still don't know the boss, of course, what Hera is. We do know it's a crystal. No sword can certainly make things a bit tricky for her, but, you know, there is certainly nothing stopping the Front of Hera from actually...
Yo, B-Strats, let's go!
No, Nep. She was probably, you know, 10 steps ahead of both of us, Dante. Remembering that she has a B. Who needs a sword? We have a B ready to basically kill out whatever we want. And
I mean, it's a fighter sword.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what she needs, right? Because, you know, we've got 2 pots in order to take care of, or 3 pots rather, take care of whatever is going to hold the big key, and she's got the mirror on the way back, so this is going to be really good for Nep.
Alright, so Rev fluting over to Desert, going to check that ledge. Is a bunch of garbage, but looks like going to be making the Agina play.
Yeah, Nep looks like also correctly counting her items. We did find her last one, a piece of heart, which was in Zelda Cell, so the small key is in Dark Cross. So Nep is not going to need to waste her time. Good thing we picked up so much extra money, Dante.
Yeah,
lying around, and we got lots of shops basically to sink our money to.
Yeah, this is, see, I was thinking, you know, obviously I'm standing here sitting here, whatever, seeing both runners and knowing where Nep needs to go for her Dark World access, thaking maybe you should buy the potion while you're there. It's a little overpriced, but it's got some value right now. But not so much. You know, like we've got the Hera play like I was talking about. It makes sense.
Yeah, actually, so I mean, I have, at least from what I've seen of Nep, she does seem like a pretty aggressive player. Like, do you happen to know if she is, I guess, interested in stuff like safeties or potions and stuff like that?
It's always best to err on the side of caution in Randomizer because you never know what you're going to come across, especially in hard mode.
That is also a good point.
So we saw Bombos was required for Meyer, which we have, and also we got that Quake medallion in the Meyer shed. So we got 2 of our 3 medallions.
Yeah, so we don't quite know what Turtle Rock is yet. No preview for that. Of course, Nep is still missing one of our 2 swords that Iker ends up having, and he will actually be able to use Bombos because, of course, we need at least 1 sword in order to activate Medallion, unlike Swordless.
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say that red boomerang on Lake Highland Island is looking pretty good for Nep right about now, honestly.
It kind of is, and it looks like now we actually have Rev heading over to Saha and maybe the eastern area as well.
So he hasn't been over here quite yet. He's made some pretty good progress, of course, in the Dark World. Saha is actually a pretty good haven because he's actually missing quite a few number of hearts. And, you know, this is going to be Easter Palace still with that bow, actually, because we know that it's going to be Vitreous on as the Easter Palace boss. That actually could be something that, that in this case, Rev can actually finish.
Yeah, for sure. It could be something the game is expecting us to do. Not really sure just yet, but we'll find out.
Yeah, as Nep using one of our few bonds in this case, trying to hit more crystal switches, sitting through Hera basement. This has to be, in this case, the big key, right?
Yeah, this is going to be big key. Yeah. But then luckily, she does have that mirror, so going to be able to head back out. This is going to be good for Rev, potentially, you know, that Nep maybe having an advantage by maybe being able down the line to fake powder or something. A safety with that as well. But Rev's going to be picking up their mushroom here too. So that will be negated. But this will be time back to Nep, you know, all things considered.
Yeah, that's something right. Nep though, she is down to so few bombs at this point. It looks like she is kind of just willing to use some pots, and her last bomb basically going to take out the Bari and hit the switch. Hopefully this is going to be just enough for what she needs. I don't think there are any more crystal switches you have to hit. I think the only last one is this one, right? And this is for safety, like safety hard before you head up.
Yeah. So we haven't seen an item yet, I don't believe.
I believe you are also correct. I would also just like to point out that the fact that if Nep is just keeping track of all of her like switches and bomb resources, she's doing a fantastic job.
So that's flippers. I guess that was the second item, so now she knows. But she's done all the flipper checks except maybe Zora area, so that might be what we see her do next.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she had her pendant of courage on, diving into the water via fake flippering, checked waterfall fairy and checked hobo, and managed to not get hit in the process. And looks like she is potentially headed over to spend 500 more rupees. Not before, of course, spending 50 more rupees on bombs. Very, very smart decision. And a heart! Oh, I love it!
Might as well. You might as well.
Only in Randomizer, you see runners actually buying a heart for 10 rupees.
I mean, you never know. It could make or break your run.
I mean, so I'm even watching these crabs right now, right? So if Nep only had 4 hearts in this case, you know, that extra 5th heart basically bought her another hit.
Yeah, heads up play here by Rev, noticing that the top left and bottom left pots there are hearts, able to refill from being pretty close to death. You know, getting a little more safety, I guess, is a good way to put it. Some more health.
And of course, Rev is going to have a little bit of easier time just because he does have that Master Sword versus Neb, who was swordless basically coming here. But I guess maybe, maybe she's showing some solidarity with you, Dante, since, your Game 3 match against Tamp is also swordless. Oh man, what a crap. Oh, jeez. Okay. Alright, okay, so Neb is very much alive after taking 2 hearts of damage. What does Zora have today?
Garbage.
Not interested whatsoever. Now, I will say though, for what it's worth, as you said earlier, in Randomizer, it may not hurt to be on the side of caution. The bug net is actually another pretty good safety, just because we do have bottles. Fairies are, very much part of the survival plan. But looks like
yeah, absolutely
not interested.
So I'm curious what she's gonna do here. She's about at the same amount of hearts she was at earlier. We did see that Rev bailed and didn't worry about fighting Vidi at the moment, but he is going to head into Escape. So this is going to be the mirror for Rev, which will be good if you're rooting for Did You Check Your Boot?
So this will be interesting, right? So the fact that Nep is headed back into Kakariko Village, presumably she is going to head back into Chicken Hut after buying some more bombs, right? And she does have a bit more health to her name, so hopefully this is going to be slightly less of an ordeal for her. So she has Mirror coming in here with Mist. She could actually make now her South World tour a bit more efficient because she can, let's say, check K45.
Yeah, very true. I'm actually kind of shocked she didn't buy that potion. Like that's something, you kind of gonna want right here, but
That's right. Oh man. Just trying to use some pot stress. You know what, Nep? Alright, so try 2 was at least a little bit more successful. But you know what, Dandy? It sounds like she heard you because we're going straight back in and we're gonna get that potion.
You do what you gotta do, And I think she's gonna buy 2 of them. Let's go.
Nice. Good thing she ended up safe scumming out the money, right? Because she went to Sora. She initially bought spent $50 for bombs and then spent $500 for Zora. But you know what? We saw that the purchases here to spend $300 for potions is going to be much more worth her time.
See, this time didn't even need it.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't even need it. It's all about the psychological safety of those potions, right? Like once you're confident you're not gonna die, you could just do whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh man, like Randomizer, there's never anything there until there is. That's what makes this mode interesting. Fun for us to watch, not always fun for the runners, but hey.
Yeah. Well, clearly, like, the runners are here, for us, right? Speaking of, if you haven't already, follow Nep and Rev, obviously very excellent players here.
Yeah, both are putting on a clinic with this Randomizer seed, all things considered.
Yes, Nep, please don't die on the overworld. You worked so hard in order to get this mist, in order to get back access in the Dark World. It would be a really big shame if you had to end your route early. Especially, there's so many goodies that we saw on Rev's side that Nep's going to get here very shortly, right? We saw Flute here. We did see Nep, so long as she makes it to the 4th chest, which is the Vanilla Vicky chest with these down, she's going to be able to pick up her first sword. And if she makes her way over to Hype Cave, she's going to be able to pick up her Master Sword as well. Yeah,
for sure. Rev, meanwhile, re-diving the Mire area. Going to make use of that mirror. We've got Checkerboard Cave over in that top right corner. We've also got Desert Palace right here too, but I think we're going to Checkerboard first.
Okay, interesting. So, we do have a fire source, so we could potentially actually look at, or at least access the back of deserts. Of course, whether or not Rev feels comfortable enough basically taking on another boss. It's really possible, right? He does have the bow. If it's, let's say, vanilla, right? It would be, quite the treat maybe for us to watch. I'm not sure how comfortable Rev is with, like, bow lamos or anything like that. But if it's something like Vitreous, right, maybe he's opting to wait.
Yeah, we are not in what a lot of people like to call boss kill mode. We've got quite a few items left before we're in such a state. Because you just don't know what boss is going to be there until you get the compass or until you walk in the room. And that can be a pretty costly time sink. So Both of them trying to play smart here.
Yeah, and of course, for this particular dungeon, we really hope that the compass is actually here in the front somewhere, because, the compass will tell you what the boss is. But if the compass happens to be on the boss, right, you're not gonna know, basically, until you, get to the boss. And then at that point, what's the point?
And we did see there was a full heart container on that torch ledge. We did get the small key there in the middle chest. So big key is going to be available to us. That means that boss, or at least the boss room access, is going to be available to us with our current loadout. Yet to see what that boss is. We were just speaking about that, but we'll see what shows up. We did get the big key. So at this point, it's either another item, map, or compass.
Yeah, thank goodness we found the mirror. Oh, speaking of an item, that is a pretty dang good one. Right in the parallel world, basically, of the light world, we found the cane, so we are all ready to go for potentially Miss Reminder Dip.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting loadout to go into Mire, but, we've seen people do it with much less equipment.
I guess I'm just curious. Oh, actually, we should get a compass check. It is Argus, so that is actually really good information. I believe so there should not be an item on the boss, right? It's just Argus himself, right?
I'm being told, Clear Mouse, that we are not the smartest, as we have no way to get into Mire. We have the bombos, but we don't have a hook or boots.
We can open. You're right. You're right. These are very minor details because we just kind of assumed that most runners would just start out with the boots, but you know what? That is not the case because well, yeah, unless these runners have hidden something from us, right? And just decided to walk everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we could open it up, and bask in the glory of the bigger place beside the Boyne shed, but yeah. But walking in would not be the smartest idea. The only thing I think that would be beneficial for, and it's not really worth the time investment, would be to know what that Mire 1 room looks like, because that's one of the scarier rooms in Randomizer.
Yeah, so of course, for those of you who are more familiar with the non-atomized version, right, there are like 5 or so of those jelly things that spawn out from the ground. They're really pretty harmless, right? Especially the hook shot or the boots, you just dash right through them. In Atomizer, they're really not quite as harmless.
That's correct.
Now, speaking of, though, with the mirror, actually, and the flute, Neb is actually going to have a much nicer time. And not only is she going to be able to drop off the smith immediately, right, with the mirror, she is going to potentially also do the purple chest. So this is actually going to be another, I guess, time save over Rev in this case, because she has to be here early.
Yeah, the good news for Nep right now is that everything she has done, pretty much, Rev is also doing. So most of it will be a wash, but it will depend on how efficient things were. We also know that Rev has done front of Skull Woods, which Nep has opted to skip and go south. So we'll see how things pan out.
Yeah, and the fact that actually, so right, on the flip side, Rev here is actually here with 2 swords versus Nep's earlier 1. I guess I'm curious to see if he decides to venture upstairs and actually take down what a potential boss is. Because we ended up seeing that Nep just left early, basically after flippers.
Yeah, and knowing what can and can't be on that Moldorm arena, we can't have an Argus, we can't have a Trinex, so I think even if it's a Cold Stare, we are in boss kill mode for this dungeon. Okay, there's a hammer. So...
Okay, so Rev absolutely needs, in order to go back, we were saying that, early on, Nev absolutely needs to go back to Chicken Hut in order to pick up her, in this case, her Titan's Mist, her second glove. We are actually now saying the exact opposite for Rev, because he did not have the mirror from the front of the escape earlier. When he made the southward trip, he needs to go back to Cave 45 and pick up his hammer.
Yeah, so this actually is our first, well, I say first, because Nep has not been here yet, but Nep does have flippers. But I was saying this would be our first potential way of getting to East Dark World. But now we have 2 ways. So, that it's a moot point at this point.
Alright, Nep, though, is going to take a quick pit stop over to Hype Kit, pick up her Master Sword, presumably then, at this point, turn over the purple chest. Rev, looking like it is going to be a Vitreous, just like in Easter Palace. This is, of course, Chaos Bot Shuffle. You know, we can see, as you said earlier, did you say something about 5 Vitreuses? Dante, I'm pretty sure you said that.
Yeah, it's a possibility. We saw there was one in Eastern. Ooh, taking a hit early. Got to be a little careful here.
Yeah, alright. Oh, jeez. Alright, so, of course, for those of you who are more familiar with Vitreous in the Misery Mire dungeon, you do know that Vitreous, every one of these eyeballs does 4 hearts of damage, and despite Rev's blue armor-looking thing, it is absolutely green in this case.
Yeah,
really good
very
job.
good. Yeah, very good recovery. Oh, and Purple Chest is boots there.
Dude, alright, so Nep definitely hit the jackpot with this route with the late mirror and Titansmiths, finding the hammer in K45 and then turning into Purple Chest and getting those really nice boots at the 38-minute mark.
But
yeah, you know what? Okay,
Dante,
we just spoke too soon. We can totally get into Misery Miner now after, you know, Nep grabs her King of Samaria from Desert Rites.
Yeah, that is possible. We'll see what Rev is doing now. I think this is going to be our mushroom turn in. Yeah. This also is like a perfect opportunity to, you know, buy some safeties if you decide you want some as well. All right, so this, like, I think the hammer's kind of okay in this situation for Rev, given that, you know, we are kind of running out of things to do, and the purple chest may incentivize him to go ahead and go back for that.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Actually, did we end up seeing Rev turning in his mushroom? If he did, I might have missed it.
He did turn it in. He did not, you know,
okay,
obviously was not.
Some. Okay, yeah, because that was actually
value.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, if he happened to save scum it, that also could be another incentive for him to go over there, because we do have, in this case, Kane of Samaria on his side, and, well, that we can actually check Magic back, also in the area as well.
Yeah, and I totally had forgotten about this, so Rev looks like we're gonna get some flipper checks as we see Nep getting her cane, but these flipper checks should be fairly quick for Rev here.
Yeah, and he is pretty loaded with money. I guess I would, the fact he didn't really save something mushroom maybe also wasn't convenient. He probably also will just, in this case, take the bug net, or maybe he will not take the bug net, but he'll definitely take out the 500 rupees.
Nep thought about that heart piece, all things considered so far in the seed, but Nep opting to not go into Mire here. I think that, well, that might be. Oh no, actually, I take that back. We're gonna head this way, I guess.
Okay, I mean, you know, we do have an entry in. She does have a Master Sword, which, I mean, looking at basically all the stuff that we've already, you know, seen on both runners' side, it doesn't really look like there is a Temper Sword available in our near future. So this is probably going to be as good a layout as she's going to get.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot. You know, Chad had made mention of Pod being something on the table here. We may see Rev do that, especially if he wants to route in like Graveyard Ledge with that mirror. It is a possibility. The thing about with Pod right now, Pod has a lot of value. The thing is, do you really want to risk going there in non-boss kill mode? You know, we had our Week 7 co-op, and it made a little more sense, you know, to go then, because, you know, you need to get as much information as possible. But you know, anything when you're playing against these high caliber runners, it's a any time sink is a big one. You potentially don't want to have to waste it if you don't have to.
Yeah, that absolutely does make sense. And you did actually mention, right, like, for example, when in this case Rev went up to the top of Tower of Terror to kind of at least check out the boss, right? There were actually some boss limitations. You know, for example, you can't have like a cold. No, actually, so you can't have like a what's it like? There are certain bosses you basically couldn't have up there, like Trinux, right? So it's probably relatively safe in this case that, you know, if you go up there, you're probably going to be able to fish the boss. Here, though, you know, you can absolutely find a Trinux in pot.
And we got our compass here from Meyer. Looks like it is just land molas, so this is going to be a clearable dungeon. Now, Clearmouse brought up something really important earlier. We saw Vidi up at Tower of Hera, and there was no goo on that arena. However, the goo is going to be here on this arena.
Oh,
So this Landmo
my.
fight does have that little, gotcha moment for players that maybe haven't played Randomizer before.
That is
But,
actually a very good point.
We'll see how they react to this.
I'm actually not quite sure if there is a actual arena size difference, but typically, especially watch like NMG players, set up to try and do some bow landmos. They'll try and like bonk right from the back of the room. Actually, not sure if that's going to be, as you said, like possible because one, the arena size actually might be different, but two, there is that green slime that actually will do damage to you.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of damage, there's a blue cane there on Rev's side at Graveyard Ledge. That is actually a pretty good find. That's any safety you can find in Randomizer is solid. Like at this point, you're gonna want whatever you can get. There's that outlying possibility. We see a Trinex at Ice Armos Arena. That's like what everyone loves to see, except the people playing. But anything you can have to try and make your life a little better, you want it, I think, in this mode.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. For example, there's just like a Chain Chomp here, guarding our way to Catfish. The Chain Chomps, of course, also do 4 hearts of damage. You also, right, so and some people don't actually end up liking the blue cane just because, it could cause more lag, right? But honestly, if the difference is between adding lag versus adding death, I'll take the extra, 5 seconds or whatever it is, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh, Rev, actually, he is actually a little low on arrows, actually, after that Vitreous fight, so typically speaking, while he wouldn't pick up, like, 3 bombs or 10 arrows or whatnot, from Catfish, that was actually a pretty good refill.
Yeah, it's, stuff like that popping up, it's a good resource management, is probably the best way to put that.
Yeah, I mean, so both runners actually have done, quite a good job, right? Just because this is Randomizer, you not only to be a bit more creative in reacting to some of the enemies, you also are potentially on some offbeat equipment, right? And sometimes, in this case, a bow or something is going to be, your best bet. We just see both, of course, runners very early on have to manage their bombs very efficiently because, well, they didn't have a sword for like 20 minutes.
All right, so while Nep is heading to back of Meyer, we are getting our first pyramid check. That's 10 more arrows. I kind of agree with Rev here. Like, pick those up. The bow is a very powerful weapon, and not not as fast as a sword sometimes, but it does. I think it does more damage. At least on some enemies. Some enemies, it's a one-hit kill. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, and for example, like you saw how useful the bow was against Vitreous, right? And apparently there are a lot more of them where that came from. So definitely never hurts to be prepared, right? You really don't want to be in a situation where it's like, should I spend the extra 3 seconds to go pick this up? Oh no, like I don't want to. Like maybe it'll be okay, and then you end up getting somewhere where you actually need it, and you just regret. Meanwhile, Nep, very nice, trying to do some bow landmos here in Mystery Meyer. And she actually got a pretty good burst cycle too.
She did.
Excellent job.
Looking like she plays a ton of NMG right here.
I believe I have on good authority that she may not have the most practice with specifically NMG, but it certainly is not showing. She looks like she's actually very well ready for potentially a new NMG run.
Oh yeah, very much so. That was her second item, so that's both out of Meyer. And off we go. No progression in Meyer. At this point, I'm kind of thinking that Rev is going to be the next one to find some progression over here in the pod area.
Yeah, we've actually seen a lot of overworld, both from Nep and Rev's side. So chances are we haven't really turned up, I guess, anything really new. So I think you're right, Danzy. We are probably going to find something here in pod. Of course, the downside for Rev is he has not been over to K45 yet, so he doesn't have the hammer. So this is in fact have to be a double dip for him. Now, of course, the good news for Rev is that he is here, as you see, on the Y item. He has his mirror at least, ready to go. Right, the mirror is going to make your pod routing a heck of a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got the big key in the first chest. If you're familiar with the way pod key logic works on this version of the randomizer, there are a minimum 4 keys, and by keys I mean small ones up front. And there can be at most 2 non-small keys up front. Sometimes there's 0 or 1, but at most we could find 2. We've already found 1, so at that point you can kind of deduce here that after we find another non-small key item up here, then the rest of them are all small keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So of course, especially for these runners, you're probably very familiar with pod key logic. There are going to be situations, for example, in Harmless Hellway or the middle big key chest, right, where a key is going to just lock itself, so you don't have to necessarily go in there. Now though, with her Bombus Medallion, with the Titansmiths, with the Flippers, looks like we can take a dip, and of course the hammer, that's pretty important too. We're gonna take a dip here into Ice Palace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This Chain Chomp though.
Yeah, that blue cane that Rev picked up in Graveyard Ledge, Nep, I'm sure she wouldn't complain if she had it.
Probably not. I hope we activated that statue on the left. If not, we're gonna have to fight it. Nope, gotta fight it separate. But yeah, having medallions really nice inside of ice. Depending on what this next room is gonna look like is gonna determine probably a lot. This room can be very scary. This isn't the worst, but it's definitely not the best either.
We have red beetles. Red beetles, especially with Master Sword, don't die at all. In fact, we saw the spice basically bounce you left and right is not as pleasant, especially with ice physics. Looks like Rev maybe decided to change his mind, potentially. Looks like he is going to try and go to the back of pod first, so hitting the switch basically twice.
Yeah, that might have... No, that might have been a little bit of muscle memory. I'm not sure if he... I think he changed it to be down like he was going to go to the boss, but not 100% sure.
Okay, so we are essentially seeing Rev try to do a hammer jump over, trying to get the right pixel with some pause buffers. Nicely done, of course, and we have simultaneous pause checks.
I did miss what was the pod one. I saw we had Armos over on the Ice Palace side, so we know this is going to be clearable. That's kind of the big worry about coming into Ice right now in non-boss kill mode, so to speak, is that there could be something crazy.
Well, it's a good thing that Nep has actually a full quiver to her name before she heads down over. I think that drop, though, was most likely not intentional, unfortunately. So, I don't think we've seen progression yet in pod, but that Temper Sword that Rev just picked up from the Compass chest is certainly...
That's very nice. There's some progression.
Yeah, that is progression. You found the Fire Rod, so that is, well... It looks like that is going to be it, at least for Rev's side, because no hammer means we can't end up going to the back. Skull Bliss is a... Oh no, it is crystal today, so that
yeah, so we are going to need that.
Destination.
We may see Rev go ahead and just try to clear out Skull Woods. I think there's at least one item in the back, so that would be, I think, the smartest play available to him, as far as just getting crystals on the board, so to speak.
Yeah, I also want to say that he did not do the vanilla big key chest. I just want to say that he did just the front area. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he certainly has not been able to the back, and there certainly should be at least one item back there. Did we just see Nep fake powder, or was that?
We did. That was a fake powder.
Nice job, Nep.
Just this is like a really scary place to be in, and you just don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah, especially at this. I mean, she does end up having, I think it's still 2 red potions to her name, which is really good. But as you said, Dante, just better to err on the side of caution. I don't know, she used one already. Never mind. She used it, I think, in mine. So, but yeah, I'll always be safe.
I gotta say, in true Titans Mitts fashion, Nep is making sure to
Oh, no.
not know where
No.
where the magic pots were in that safety room.
Oh my gosh.
This is scary.
This room is awful. Come back, fake powder, please. All right, is the anti-bear gonna leave Nep alone for the? Oh my gosh. Chops do 4 hearts of damage, by the way. Nep is playing with Chop fire at this point. Holy cow. All right, falling
I don't
down
know
to
if
the
she had a
boss.
goo either.
She bought 2, right?
Yeah, I just don't know if she had it, but maybe. But does manage to get Armos. I think that's our 3rd item. There's the real powder.
Yeah, the big powder served her well, kept her alive, but this case she doesn't have to do as much menuing in order to actually activate something real. So I guess
Alright, so that's crystal number 2 for Sailor Nep at the 53-minute mark.
Yeah, and Rev actually very shortly ready to capture his own 2nd crystal. It is, I think, pretty funny. We're at 53 minutes in, and we have completely different crystals for our runners. Quite the divergence. So early on, of course, Rev made his way early into Dark World because we found both mitts or gloves inside Kakariko Village. Just happens to be that Nep kind of delayed hers earlier because Chicken Hut was the best well-guarded chicken hut you could possibly imagine. But as a result, she ended up clearing out a mirror and finding some other goodies, and now we're at 2 totally different paths.
This is a very scary fight. We talked about having like tons of viddies, and here we are. This is number 3, and that we know of, and this is one of the worst rooms in the game to have Vitreous in. As far as Randomizer goes. The moving platform, the eyeballs, we were talking about the 4 hearts of damage, but Rev is making very good use of that blue cane. This is why those safeties are so valuable in this mode. But doing a really nice job to finish off Vitreous there. That was really good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's just because, we remember that we saw Rev fight Vitreous up the Tower Hera, right? He was basically able to stand still and kind of shoot arrows, right? And has pretty good aim. Your aim on conveyor belts is slightly less reliable. Rev actually doing a really good job was a combination of sword slashes and arrows.
All right, so we'll see. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask. So I know we only are at 2 crystals completed, but any potential inventory take here for potential either no or go mode?
Well, here's a scenario. I don't like bringing it up, with races like these because it could get too speculatory too fast. But we do have a Pendant Swamp. The hookshot is not available to us just yet, or rather, we haven't seen it. I'm sure it's available to us. But we do have access to Dark Mountain in some way, shape, or form. With the Fire Rod, we could be in go mode. We could be. And then, of course, logically we would need the hook as well for the Moldrum to gap, I guess, that arena. But we really don't need too much. We need to know what the TR medallion requirement is. But we're getting... I take that back. We do need hook. See, this is why you guys are going to keep me in line. We do need hook. There's an Argus in desert. So my point is moot.
Well, no, I mean the fact is you just mentioned that the hookshot is required within logic, right? It is just even more required now in logic because we actually have to go kill the boss with that hookshot. So hookshot, all right. We do know where the Fire Rod is from a Rev's side, which is in pod, which of course Nep is going to get pretty shortly. We don't know the medallion, as you said, for Turtle Rock, but we could have it. It could be Quake or Quake Bombos. But other than that, yeah, if we don't ever see a Trinex in our seed, that looks like it could be it.
Yeah, and so some notes for people who may not play Randomizer, or just people who may watch Randomizer and not actually play it. With Randomizer, it's a little weird. The logic is shuffled slightly for Randomizer based on bosses, but not for kill rooms. So in pod, whatever's on that right side, like we're going to see here in a second, or we saw from Nep and Rev already, that is technically still bow locked. Same thing with Eastern. The boss is technically bow locked. However, the boss itself, there's logic like behind that kind of factors in. So it's a really interesting caveat with the way the Randomizer is currently in its current state.
Mm-hmm. I believe the way that it worked was it would place all the vanilla enemies, right? In this case, you have all the normal enemy requirements, not bosses, and then it just shuffles the enemies around.
Right.
All right, now picking up, of course, her tempered sword. She's going to pick up her fire rod very shortly, and then presumably she's going to just go to the back because she has the hammer.
The question right now with both runners, how are they feeling? You know, obviously they're in their own little world running the seed. Like, what's the mental state? How do you feel? Like, Nep probably not feeling the absolute best about the whole last locating the mids. Maybe thinking, maybe my opponent had just as much trouble. You know, that is a very real possibility. We saw how bad that chicken hut was.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking that maybe Nep did not feel so great after she had come back to Chicken Hut, after basically exploring, you know, so much of the rest of the world, right? Going up to Hera and taking down the boss, going to Eastern basically for, you know, for no value, right? And then finding the mids, it's like, oh no. Speaking of, oh no, sorry, Rev. Oh, this is part of the problem with Randomizer.
Yeah, that's a room we did not get to see on Nep's side. Now, we're saying oh no, but that's actually kind of an oh yeah, you know, if you're rooting for Rev, because, you know, we know there's no major progression in there, except maybe that powder, which could lead to something, but that's on the boss, and without that hammer, he can't get that. So yeah, that's actually really good. It's one of those, like, hidden gems where you just think something really bad's happening as a runner, but you just don't know you're actually being blessed.
Yeah, actually, Danzy, speaking of being blessed, it looks like Rev is actually headed in the exact direction after being rudely kicked out of Ice Palace. The game is saying, you know what, you should go do the stuff that you have the opportunity to do. It looks like he is going to pick up the purple chest, and this is going to be awesome news because we know that the hammer is in K45, which he absolutely needs to get, and then the boots are, of course, on the purple chest, which I guess we haven't actually seen evidence that they're... Well, no, I guess we know the hook is out there somewhere, but the hook could still be boots locked because, you know, for example, actually no. Actually, do we know? But do we know what's in Mire yet?
We've been in Mire, and it was like there was nothing in there. I don't believe.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we do know maybe hookshot is out there somewhere. But you know, having those boots is still going to be something that Rev's gonna be pretty happy about. On the other hand, the fact that Rev, you know, probably started out really strong, right? Getting through Chicken Hut, mids early Darkhold access. Got to do a lot of stuff. Picked up a lot of really great progression early in Village of Outcasts. Things have kind of slowed down for him, and the fact that he is gonna get a late hammer and late boots, knowing that he could have done this earlier, is probably not gonna be a great feeling.
Yeah, honestly, all things considered, I don't think this is too bad of a spot. I don't think it's insurmountable by any stretch. Like, this isn't GG at all.
For sure. Nothing is ever GG in Randomizer, but...
Yeah, there's a lot left to be played. So this is good for Rev, gonna get that hammer, and Nep finishing off Helma inside of his vanilla house, and getting a heart container for it. We're up to 12 hearts on Nep's side. That's finally getting a little cozy.
Yeah, for once, considering how many chain chomps and like vitreous eyes that we're potentially still gonna have to face in the future, you're never really gonna complain with any more help.
Now, I didn't count items. I don't think we're gonna see either runner potentially do it unless it gets down to it, but I didn't count items in Eastern. So I'm not sure if Vitreous has our final item or if we found all three.
Alright, thank you, Iker, for pointing out, because our tracker definitely was counting, it looks like. So that looks like all three items are in the front.
See, this is why...
exactly why we need a tracker.
This is why trackers are the unsung heroes, because they know this stuff, and we don't. I mean, I'll admit it, I just don't.
Alright, so Rev taking his boots and hammers straight back over to Pod. This is going to be, of course, another clearable crystal dungeon for him, so he's going to potentially go, you know, straight to Halmasaur in this case. And we did see that on Nep's side there was, of course, an item, so very natural decision for Rev to come here. Meanwhile, just retracing some of Rev's steps in Skull Woods. Nep looks like she's gonna check out the front first. Gonna get her, I guess, collection of dungeon items. And of course, with the mirror that Rev did not have on his trip over here, she doesn't have to wait for the Wall Master. And with coming here with 3 swords versus Rev's 0, has a much easier time lining up that bomb jump.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing to keep in mind, Nep's cruising, but Nep does have a Vidi fight and does not have that blue cane. So I think maybe she has 1 red goo, but the Vidi fight can get off the rails really fast. So, just something to be watching for here. Rev hitting up the back pod, and gonna be able, this is a pretty comfy fight, all things considered.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to say also I saw Nep go into the potion shop and buy 1 blue potion. Well, if she ever quick swaps over to bottles, we could get a verification.
10 minutes ago, Nep, can you switch over so we know?
Yeah, we're all curious for the fans. Oh no! And of course, this is the part of the Randomizer, right? Typically, you don't have all these things kind of get in your way. You get to kind of sneak right through basically all of the pits. Yeah, that's not happening in Randomizer. All of the muscle memory you basically have in this room in order to do this room quickly just kind of goes out the window.
So I think we're gonna get sort of close simultaneous boss fights.
Yeah, but as you said, Rev with a tempered sword and a bunch of hearts. This should be a very familiar fight to him. Nep, on the other hand, though, we did see Rev take down Vitreous pretty nicely here. She's going to be faced with her own conveyor belt fights.
Nep just putting on a clinic.
Yeah, she's doing extremely well. Temper Sword, of course, does end up helping, but still, as we said, conveyor fights are not easy.
All right, both runners doing a fantastic job with both of those boss fights, both adding to their crystal count. So that is going to be 4 for Nep and 4, I think, or 3 for Rev.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, we are. So of course, Nep still has to do entire para in this case. She ended up leaving another Vitreous up there. I'm not actually sure she might know. I think maybe she got the compass. But that is going to be she has to make another trip up there. Rev, though, of course, with that Lake Hammer, he is losing absolutely no more time. He has already dipped 2 dungeons that requires the hammer in order to finish, so he is just cleaning up the rest of his areas, and he's going to be able to pick up the powder on the boss.
I'm a little curious what Nep's doing here, because I think... Now, we know there's an Argus here, so she can't clear it. So this is going to be... No, because we've already gotten that. So this is going to be pure time given back to Revenant.
Oh, interesting. I hope she didn't forget. She is the one who checked the boss, right? Or is that only Rev?
I think they both did. I could be wrong, but I think they both did.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out in this case when she eventually gets over to Argus. Alright, meanwhile, Rev is in Ice Palace. Take 2. Looks like he, with Temper Sword, is going to have a little bit easier time killing off the red hard hat beetles. And so, in this case, that room will not give us as hard time, but, he's really putting on the use of that blue cane, keeping himself nice and safe.
Okay, so Chad pointing out Nep did not do Big Chest, which had Compass. So therefore, did not know this boss. So that would make more sense for that dive. So now we're going to finally get some mountain checks. We'll see what comes out of this.
Alright, so Nep at least now has the knowledge that she does need, in addition to, well, actually, no, she absolutely needs a hook shot in this case. So where else we're going to try and search for in this case? She still has a couple of overrule spots left, not on the mountain. Like, for example, she hasn't been to Graveyard Ledge, she hasn't been Catfish, but this is our, essentially, first real-ish trip up here, at least to East Death Mountain, right? We've been on the west side, and next gonna probably finish up here at some point. But there's so many items up here, right?
Yeah, there's tons.
Yeah,
tons on Light World.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. Anti-fairies are such bullies, right? I mean, typically, at this point we've got some Tektites, ready to go, but, Temper Sword, you're really not too scared of them, but, this is Randomizer. Turtle Rock entry is still pretty well guarded.
It's a little scary there. Now that Chomp, like, guarding that peg for all he's worth.
Alright, looks like we are not going to have to need either today. Our other requisite medallion is something we ended up picking up earlier, which was the Quake medallion. Now, I guess, are you going in? Like, you're just gonna try and clear this place?
I mean, I'm on Nep's team. I'm Solidarity. She's going in. I'm going in. Like,
I really do, appreciate the team solidarity. This is the kind of support that that Nep needs in order to get through the seed.
I call this the I had a hard time with Chicken Hut play, because
I see.
But it makes sense. I mean, there's a very real possibility that Trinex is not here in this dungeon, and it's fully clearable and required. One thing you learn very quick when playing Rando, that there's no fast really. It's very rare to have a fast go mode Turtle Rock.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, okay, so if Nep picks up the compass and she checks it in, it is Trinex, do you think she'll keep going? Like that compass right there? It is. Is that a 4 Vitreous?
I regret talking about how many Vitreouses early on.
Oh, and you thought your, off the whim comment about, well, this is Chaos Boss Shuffle. There could be like 5 Vitruces. You thought that would never come back and haunt you, huh, Dante?
I'm sorry, guys.
Well, I mean, the good news, I guess, is at least it's not 5 Trinexes, right? Because, we're still missing that pretty elusive Ice Rod, but, I mean, we are certainly very close to not potentially needing it. There is, of course, the off chance, which we actually have seen earlier in this playoff occurrence, where Trinex did not appear whatsoever until the big key of GT was behind Ice Trinex, and you know what? It was time for our runners to leave the tower and try and go find it.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. So there's still a lot of Rando to be played. We're still looking to hook. That's going to be required to even get into Ganon's tower today. But yeah, at this point, we could be hitting 6 crystals very soon.
Yeah, and I guess, so even though I think it looks like actually all we need is the hook shot for this particular set of crystals, would you potentially still check hook shot cave, Dante, just potentially for that ice rod? Or would you just not even check hook shot cave at that point if you find? I think
it's very dependent on how you're feeling. Honestly, it's probably the better play to whether or not you can hover it. Just don't check it. But if you get hook shot here, I think you do check it. Maybe on the way into GT. It's how do you feel? Maybe it's the first check after you realize you need it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, this certainly makes a lot of sense if it's certainly like situational and how you end up feeling, of course, in the match.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Nep was trying real hard in order to powder that anti-fairy, but so many things were in her way.
Oh yeah, and like what I was gonna say is like, I can't speak for every runner, obviously, but I know from myself at least, when you're playing Randomizer and thinking of these scenarios that you're bringing up, Clear Mouse, it's like your mind is running a lot harder and like faster pace than it normally does in a rando seed, just because there's so much more to try and calculate. Is this worth it?
Oh yeah. Speaking of, basically thinking about how to play the seed, regular non-Randomizer seeds are pretty stressful as is, especially at this stage, right? Especially for Rev, he knows that he needs to win this game in order to force Game 5 and stay alive before. Did you check your boots for the series? This is a pretty high-stakes situation. And now imagine you basically have to, throw out some of your comfy muscle memory out the door so you can try and think about how am I going to survive the rest of the seed.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess also we know from the number of items, right, in Hera, potentially I could definitely see Nep just delaying killing Vitreous until basically the very end, right, before Jinx again.
Yeah, if we know there's no other items, it would make absolute total sense to want to bundle that, since you have to do that second climb when you have like a Hera pot capability.
Yeah, and especially, okay, speaking of more basket, by the way, more good magic management on Nep's side. She has just enough magic left to potentially hit the switch if she really needs to, right before the boss room.
Yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a scary maze. You come in here on low health, that roller hits for a ton, so...
Nep taking no chances. Actually, I would consider to be pretty heads up play. So while it's not the case in this particular scene, more often than not, you do see those little white spikes on bridges, and they will knock you down. And of course, this being the Japanese 1.0 version, if you get knocked down and hit by a laser, you take not only 1 damage, but you take 5 hearts of damage. So I actually very much applaud just Nep's thinking ahead, taking that damage early to get some iframes for the be able to dash back. Looks like, though, Laser Bridge not actually quite having anything really useful.
Yeah, it looks like Turtle Rock's coming up empty here. I don't know if we got the map already, but it's either map or one item on the boss here. All right, and our tracker yet again, Iker, helping me out, keeping me in line. The map was found, so we do have an item here.
All right, and I think we did know that in this case it was Armos, right? So Nep probably ready to go, maybe taking a safety potion. Oh no, it was Vitreous. Never mind.
Yeah, we got another Vidi, so it is time.
All right, Nep. By the way, that 4th heart, or the heart that she ended up picking up right before this boss, got her to 4.5, which is exactly what she needed to not be in Okma mode.
And just the right amount of arrows right there.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at how we get an arrow refill. Man, these these bosses actually have been quite convenient, right? This is Vitreous. You need to spend a lot of arrows. You know what? Have some back, ready to go for the next Vitreous fights.
So we don't have a whole lot left. Between the two runners, we have cleared pretty much everything. There is the looming back of Pendant Thieves, the looming Pendant Swamp Palace dip. So there's also a lot of stuff here on the mountain. So I guess we're about to find out, what this is going to have for us.
Of course, Nep, still no hook shot. Very nice chicken, of course, to see. And yeah, this was, of course, the one check that is in logic. I'm actually not sure. Do you know if Nep is comfortable with getting the rest of the items in Hookshot Cave without the hook shot?
She could do it, sometimes here and there. Knowing what she is looking for specifically is the hook shot.
Sure, yeah.
She's definitely not going to be trying it at this point.
That certainly makes sense. Oh man, the satisfaction of being able to dash through and killing thieves. So nice here in Spiral Cave.
Yeah, it's always very nice. And hey, we got another safety for our troubles, so that's 3 bottles. And I think that's going to be 2 blue goose for Nep, or 4 bottles technically. Holy cow, we've gotten every last one of them.
Yeah, and we did end up seeing some green 20 starting to creep up on Nep's side. We are getting pretty dang close to that 14 heart limit. So chances are those are actually just heart containers, masquerading basically at this point.
Oh, now we've got a book. So that opens up more like weird fetch quests that we have to do potentially.
Yeah, well, okay, so I guess maybe the good news is for our runners, if they're gonna end up getting the book, I don't know, this late in the game, right? So Nep can still run over there to Hera at this point in order to check out either tablet. They have not been over, at least in the Swamp Palace area, so that is gonna be another opportunity to check Bombos. But I mean, yeah, again though, like you said, it's not convenient. It's not like you want to go do these checks, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think Nep is opting to not even attempt that bomb jump. We did have a red jelly in there. Sometimes red jellies on the same screen can cause interesting. Well, I take that back. I guess she didn't do Super Bunny. So, this is the Super Bunny play.
Okay. All right. So it looks like she is actually going to be, clearing out the entire mountain at this point. Did her East Death Mountain, gonna hop over to Dark Death Mountain, and then clear out. So I don't know if she's gonna still be incentivized to go over to the west side again.
All right, so that's our one shield, the entire mountain, a nice bust. So at this stage, we do just have tablets, thieves, and swamp. So I guess we're at the point, who is going to make the right call when it comes down to it?
We love making calls for which pendant dungeon should I go after. Alright, though it looks like Neth, though, she doesn't want to be quite done with the mountain, making sure that she wants to at least check the tablet from that newly found book. Taking good care not to mirror bonk, but instead took a tablet bonk instead. Hopefully this is going to be something good.
So another thing to keep in mind, we do have, it was just brought up in chat that we do have Pyramid Fairy. We also do logically have Spike Cave. Nep did skip that, does not have a blue cane, does not have a cape. But Rev does, so it'll be interesting to see if Rev decides to do that.
Oh yeah, no, that is actually, you bring up a very excellent point. Neth has not been over to Graveyard Ledge, so as far as she's concerned, a Spike Cave is technically not in logic. Of course, it looks like she's very capable of getting through it, but that could be something that is pushing her away. It's not like Spike Cave is a very, fast one to do, right? But Rev, though, fully in logic for him, could be something that pushes him over there, and especially if he needs to go over there for either tablet, Spike Check could be something that's very natural afterwards.
Yeah, most likely. But we're gonna get those safety items, the nice little convenient things here on Rev's side in Paradox.
I'm kind of curious to see if Nep will actually end up picking up the 10 arrows that we saw on Pyramid earlier from Rev's side. When Rev ended up coming over here, he was pretty low on arrows, and got a pretty nice replenishment, but Nep's only sitting on 10 herself, and she's probably just thinking like, I'm gonna have to go fight Vitreous at some point. Maybe it'll be useful. But not today, looks like.
All right, so more rupees, more 20s. Where do we go next? I guess this is probably the catfish play from her. We haven't seen that on her side, so this is good for Rev.
Yeah, so this is potentially going to be catfish to Graveyard Ledge to catfish. Oh, we have no hookshot, never mind. We can't go over there, easily at least. Alright, so meanwhile though, Rev is going to try and do his best to clear out Turtle Rock, which is of course going to be, well, we know from Nep's side that is going to be fully clearable for him, but it looks like he's going to maybe take a potentially some insurance, checking out some of the rest of the mountain as overworld, hoping he could find something that could secure his trip into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, it totally makes sense to do that.
Rev picking up his first shield, and yeah, on Rev's side as well, we're starting to see him picking up more and more green 20s as well, because we do see that he is also at the pretty close cusp of that 13-14 heart. Now, I guess Rev also does know that he is, potentially a hookshot away from being able to completely finish the scene. Unfortunately, doesn't quite get the bonk off the pot. We're going to take a try to at least get this first chest, and well, I'm going to try and deal with some chicken interference. It looks like he's also not interested in the rest of Hookshot Cave as well. Yeah, finishing up Catfish, after picking up something that was not worth her time, is going to at least make the rest of her overworld finishes. So, she did not have a hammer, because hammer, of course, was in K45 after she had already left the Village of Outcast area. So you can wrap up hammer pegs, and she does have the powder, so most likely can also check that in the vicinity. Rev taking care to not mirror or leave his portal basically, so where he could potentially bomb. But looks like Spike Cave is also going to be not on the table for Rev. Just looks like he wanted to make a quick ether tablet check, and we're going to dash right into turn 1.
Yeah, that little bit of extra insurance, always a good thing. Especially if you don't know what the boss is in here yet.
Yeah. I mean, and for example, if you just end up finding like an ice rod, right, you are feeling very, very good. You don't even have to worry in this case about the boss. Alright, so Neb did check powder for Magic Bat. Unfortunately, it was just 3 bomb. So, but at least she bought herself some peace of mind in that she has no more isolated checks.
So this is going to be our Bombos tablet. This is the last saving grace for that book that we found.
Alright, let's see if the book was actually something useful or it was just a waste of time for our runners. Nope. I wish we had never found that book. Or at least our runners wish that they had never found that book.
Yeah, and unfortunately Rev losing a little bit of time here, going the wrong way. Should have enough magic to do this though.
He must have at least one Greek potion to his name, right?
Yeah. So here we go. We're making a pendant play over on Nep's side, and it is to Swamp Palace.
Alright, so we do know that there are going to be 6 items here, counting left side. Alright, Rev, of course, picking up the compass, ensuring that, okay, this is a clearable dungeon for me, and what a surprise, it is Vitreous. Please, if he ever runs some game knowledge about this dungeon, hopefully he knows where to pick some extra arrows along the way. But yeah, faced with either Pendant Swamp, which has 6 items, or the back of Pendant Thieves Town, which we really don't want to do. I want to say it's 2 items left back there. This is
the only saving grace with that is like the green pendant, and
oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't even know if we know what the boss is there. Okay, so there's an ice rod. That's nice. Don't need it yet, but if we have to do something in GT, that's nice to have.
Yes, definitely going to be some peace of mind in that. So we now know for sure that we only need a hook shot at this point. We don't have to necessarily leave Ganon's Tower searching for that ice rod in case we run into an ice trident somewhere.
I honestly don't know, how to feel if I'm either runner at this point. Given their scenarios, they've both had something that kind of eluded them. There's probably reason for both of them to feel good and maybe bad at the same time. About their route. I'm kind of just obviously making assumptions here, but yeah, this is I don't know. We said it was going to be an exciting race, and
it very much
it is.
Speaking of exciting, so Rev definitely putting that bug net to use as well. So he opted to powder the anti-variant, but he wanted to keep it instead in one of his bottles. This could be really nice delayed safety. Something of course Nep ended up giving up and opted to save the powder for herself. Looks like we are going to get we have no hook shot, so we don't have much of a choice. If we're going to die in Pendant Swamp, we are going to go basically to left side first. She is getting definitely bullied here by Randomizer and the Skull Pots. Swamp typically, being the second original crystal dungeon of the vanilla game, right? Most enemies here do have a heart, maybe a heart at best. This is Randomizer. Gyptos do 3 hearts at this point?
Yeah, it's not a great feeling where we are as far as the amount of damage you can take. Nep wisely just deciding I'm gonna use this, get some sword beams, and not have to worry about that big old spike. Very heads up play there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, certainly being aware of, not only your regular resource management, but just tactics and actually beams. It's actually also, that's a really nice anti-carry dodge there also on Nep's side. just be able to make this the best of whatever situation you're in. Certainly, you know, these runners make it look easy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I hate doing this, but there could be a Trinex and Thieves, and that could be what we need. Like, you know, like that Ice Rod might be required that way.
Yeah.
It's just Randomizer's so crazy like that. You never know.
Alright, Nev, unfortunately, you know, doing the left chest first, totally natural. You know, we got $100 to our name, but unfortunately, no hookshot means that we are going to have to hop over and do this a second time. Hopefully, this is going to be our last item, and it's going to be hookshot.
And this room,
if not, we're going to Pendant Thieves.
Yeah, I guess so. That room is another reason why that potion was a smart idea.
We're going to Pendant Thieves.
Well.
Oh. Alright, so while, you know, Pendant Swamp Dip probably, you know, did not do, you know, wonders for Nep's morale, you know, there's probably a little bit, at least, of a solstice in that, you know, chances are, right, when faced with the same direction on Rev's side, he is going to make the same decision. Speaking of, though, Rev, he is on one heart. This is going to be pretty dangerous.
I think that's gonna... No, I thought that was gonna refill him, but I guess not. Got the cane. Should be okay.
He is very interested in not taking the safety door, I guess.
Ooh.
So...
Does have powder, and I think has enough magic to use it? Maybe. He's not even gonna try. Wow. This, I think he has a safety. He's got a fairy. He's fine.
Oh yeah,
he's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, so Clear Mouse, do you go to the ballsy or do you go to the back?
I am going to the back.
Yeah, I think metagame wise you're going to the back, but we'll see what Nep decides to do.
Nep
it's another business!
Alright, so Dante, we would like to pay out your channel prediction points for exactly 5 victories so far.
Holy crap!
Alright, Nep though, you know, even though I don't think she's a fairy, she has like a ton of potions, but she is actually right now in one-hit KO mode from these eyeballs. She's... Oh, no, Nep! No! That... Alright, so...
so scary!
I was gonna say, so if she gets pissed by the lightning, she's not on one-hit KO, because lightning only does 2 hearts. But yeah, some of these little eyeballs can be super aggressive, and when they don't die from your sword slashes, they will basically just keep charging at you, just like Holster.
Alright, so this is probably Spike Cave? Yes, this is probably Spike Cave from Revenant. There's honestly a very good probability the hookshot's here.
We are certainly running out of locations at this point, right? You know, Nep basically gave us everything that we can see in Swamp Palace, which of course, you know, the rest of it is hookshot locked. And, you know, what else do we have left? We have back up in Thieves Town. We've seen pretty much all of the rest of the overworld. Nep, oh my gosh. You would think that after fighting 5 Vitruses or 4 Vitruses by now, she has, you know, enough experience, but you know what? She takes it down, no problem the second time. Oh man. And more arrows as a replenishment. It is not Spike Cave.
So it is not Spike Cave. I was collectively holding my breath for both runners there. So now we've just got we've got a green pendant turn in. Or we have, what, 1 item in the back?
I want to say there was 1 item, yeah. It looks like Nep is right now not interested in exploring the back. You know, we do have the green pendant turn in. Is this going to be hookshot? Meanwhile, though, looks like Rev is... Yes? No? Maybe he's Pyramid Berry.
That was all 4 according to our tracker, Ikir.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So I think this is the hookshot. I think. Like, I can't think of anything else to do.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dante. In this case, it has to be the hookshot.
This seed sucks. Let me tell you.
Oh, what an adventure in order to get the hookshot that we know was absolutely required. You know, even despite the best of abilities in order to get past that Moldrum 2 gap, the Desert Palace Crystal Boss, in this case in Chaos Shuffle Randomizer, is Argus, so we absolutely needed the hookshot. And you know what? Look at where it is. In Nep's almost next to last location. So how good are you feeling, do you think, Dancy, if you're in Nep's shoes?
If I'm Nep, I'm not feeling great. I'm not feeling great at all. Just because there's the chance of someone just went in there and did that, and then basically turned that in and got hook. But right is going to like they would go to pod. The one thing to consider here is that we haven't seen a dot done roll in from either runner, obviously. So therefore, there's that chance you can think to yourself, maybe they're making the same route I did. So there is that looming. It's like you have to find ways, especially if you feel like you might be on tilt for something or another in situations like this, to stay calm and collect yourself and just play your game.
Yeah, no, right. So we, of course, as commentators, as spectators of this particular race, we have perfect information, right? We see exactly, in this case, like where each runners are. Runners don't have that luxury. They are basically running this blind, and of course, the most important thing for you to do in this case is to stay focused. Of course, Nep having just a little bit, ever slightly of a faster time getting to the back of Desert Palace because she had already been here earlier and found out, of course, the boss was Vitreous Argus. Sorry. you had like a basically 50-50 shot of whether or not this boss is going to be Vitreous for this particular scene.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we are headed to Ganon's Tower after Tower of Hera, because I forgot Hera existed.
That was a very smooth recovery, Dancy, I must say.
Yeah, I looked at that tracker that Ikeir's doing such a fantastic job of keeping up to date. Yeah, I kind of caught myself. But we do have a little bit left to do.
Yeah, meanwhile, though, just looking at Rev's path, right, doing Pyramid Fairy, he ran down in order to hop back in Dark World, check Bombo's talent, and you know what? Just as, we saw Nep 2, right, making a decision to the backup pendant Thieves' Town, which apparently only had one item in the green pendant, and the front of Swamp Palace. We're gonna go and, go where the item density is gonna be.
And I don't remember which enemies we had up top. I think this here is a really smart play from Nep. Depending on what enemies we had on top of the mountain, they can actually be a little more cumbersome to deal with than the Dead Rocks. I think we did have that Chain Chomp up there, obviously that was over near the portal. So this route is just a touch slower, but it's definitely a touch safer than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, especially in Randomizer, Solace, pacifist type of paths where there are no enemies is definitely going to be your friend. I thought guards couldn't exist in Dark Worlds.
I mean, you never know.
Of course, she of course realizes or knows that in this case she does in fact have to do the top of Tower of Hera, taking some extra super speed there on the stairs. But of course, this time, well, we do have the hook shot. Is she gonna be able to get this Hera pot in time?
You can just kind of
the fight bar is not too bad. It's just you have to
play it safe. You just have to. It's actually more of a mental barrier than it is like a physical one, as far as like being in your way, because it's on your mind while you're trying to do this. But she gets after a few attempts.
Yeah, it looks like certainly very glad that she didn't get sucked into, of course, the basement stairs door, because then she would have had to, basically redo all of that. But luckily, safe and sound, made it up the tower. And honestly, if you can do Hera pot, especially Randomizer, I mean, it does save you time, but geez, like, probably save you even more time because of, well, Randomizer.
All right, I'm hoping for the runner's sake that if the bosses we have to fight in GT, or I hope they're moths, like something easy. How many biddies did we have? 5? Was it 5 or 6?
5. We had 5 in this case. At least that we know of.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I also agree with you, Dante. I'm certainly hoping, at least, for our runner's sake, at this point, we're already, hour 36. We haven't even entered GT yet. Some nice, easy bosses, Mothula, maybe another Armos in there somewhere, would be pretty helpful.
All right, so that's actually Crystal 7, chat. If you want to spam numbers, this is the
Yeah.
time to do it. There's 22 locations in the basement of GT. There's a big key in there somewhere. Feel free to throw a number and say, I knew where it was, if you got it right.
And yeah, this one is actually going to go pretty quickly because, you know, as Nep is actually just demonstrating the fact that you can nicely do Tower of Hero right before GT, hey, we're basically right at the entrance. Yeah, and really right now at this point, we have everything, you know, that we need in order to clear out. You know, we have boots, we have fire rod, we have ice rod in case we encounter another Tridex, which of course we hopefully never do. But Nep is already, you know, fast on her search. Half magic.
Well, there it is.
Please.
There's the safety in hard mode that, you know, you really want to have. But
you thought, you know, fire rod was really nice in like the regular gauntlet. You know, it is going to be really, it's going to be even better here in Randomizer. Alright, Nep looks like she is going to go left side first, but you know what? She has all of the keys that she needs and the big key alongside in Stalfos' room. Doesn't even need anything else. You know, she doesn't have to search for anything. We've got max health, we've got max armor, being on green mail, and silvers do not exist in this particular mode, so what else would she possibly need?
Alright, so we are climbing. There's still a lot of perils ahead. There could be, obviously we do have that ice rod, there could be a Trinex here at Land Mode 2. In addition, there could just be some really wacky enemies along the way that just really... like, here's something to consider. There's a chance there's a spike in the torch room up above Land Mode 2. And usually it's nice to have safety for that, as far as like an invincibility item, which Nep does not. There are ways around it. Just not as easy to get around in Nep's position. So we'll have to wait and see how things pan out for her.
Yeah, I was also gonna say, you know, that, you know, in Randomizer, certainly we have seen a Wallmaster or two kind of lurking, you know, the couple last few rooms, you know, before Aghanim 2. Certainly not going to be a pleasant surprise if we happen to encounter some. I will also like to point out that it looks like actually Rev finally decided to go check out some of the boot spots locations, namely Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb. I mean, we of course know that there was nothing on, you know, in there, but maybe an hour and 40. The fact that he just checked them is definitely going to be some good peace of mind, because I'm not sure how could he would have felt if he like just found hookshot there and just like, oh my gosh.
I think this is going to be the Thieves play, or like maybe hammer pegs to Thieves, but no, this is definitely straight to Thieves. This is good for Rev. So we got another Armos finally, something semi-useful. You know, the quick kill isn't the easiest thing to do when you have a big old fire spitting thing in the way.
Oh no, arrows of all things to run out of. Alright, now though, this is where the half magic, you know, unconventionally can come in handy. So a half magic of course does do temper sword damage. You know, Nep could of course, you know, spun a couple, but it looks like she also knows where some extra arrows are. We will pick this up. Good thing she picked up those arrows.
Yeah. So Rev was trying to make use of that blue cane here with Vidi, but didn't have quite enough magic for it to last a long time. It does go down to 1 heart. I think he still has that fairy though, so he should be really good with this fight.
Yeah, he's trying to basically right now keep his distance because, you know, unlike Nep, who was on 3 hearts, he cannot take anything at this point. It looks like he is at least in the safe zone for phase 2.
And no spike today, apparently. Just a little mini Moldorn.
Alright. Looks like Nep just needs to pick up that 1 magic pot to light the last torch. Thank you, half magic. Alright, so I guess the question is, you know, so we know, of course, the hookshot is on the green pen to turn in. Well, will Rev immediately go turn that in, or is he going to do the rest? Alright, so it looks like he's going to do probably, in this case, magic that. I think he did hammer pegs earlier, because he had the hammer when he was over here.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Or maybe not, maybe I just forgot. And that he's also going to do hammer pegs. Right, this at least should be pretty quick. You know,
We got them all finally. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that, you know, these are, you know, I guess Rick can always come back, but this isn't the Dark World, so maybe he's just interested in, you know, if something is here, right? It's just be pretty fast check.
All right, so is there a wall master here?
Oh no! Oh no!
All right, looks like we are okay.
Finally, a boss we recognize. This
Yeah,
boss
the
is
game
not shuffled.
The game is vanilla from here on out. In this, well, I take that back. The bat sprite is obviously a treat sometimes in Randomizer.
Alright, not exactly like the friendliest of patterns so far. But Nep recovers really well, so we are one bat-like sprite potentially away. It looks like it's just pink today. And then, you know, Nep is one Ganon fight away from taking a victory in this particular game over Rev and advancing the Titans onto the conference finals. Rev at 1 hour 43 minutes turns in his hookshot for go mode. Very similar to Nep's progression in that, you know, we have visited Pendant Swap over Pendant Thieves, and with that hookshot he just has to go take care of Argus on the Desert Palace boss, and then he is also going to be on his way up the mountain.
All right, Nep already into phase 2, utilizing her NMG strats here again to make sure to try and get that 1-in-1, and successfully does. So now we just have to wait out these teleports. You guys know how this song and dance goes. It's 4 swipes in phase 3, and then phase 4 begins with no silvers. And while this is all going down, Rev is going to be going to take down Argus. Like, you know, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, no one's ever fallen to Ganon or, you know, or anything like that, right? Rev though is getting a bit bully here with some of the enemies basically not letting him through. Nep almost ended up falling off on that left side.
It's a little bit scary. All right, so here in phase 4, we are going to be doing those spin slashes. We need 12 of them to complete the fight.
Yeah, of course. You did see that Nep pulled out the lamp to make sure she gets torch glitch. Magic management is not really going to be the primary issue. It's mainly going to be the amount of spins you can basically get within lamp lights. If you have torch glitch, you can pretty comfortably get triples. If you end up missing torch glitch, it's not going to be the end of the world, of course. You can always land your doubles, but it is, you know, especially hour 45 in, you know, you kind of want things to kind of go your way.
All right, with sword in the air, that is probably going to do it here for the Titans Mitts and Sailor Nep. Get your GGs in chat. And she is going to cross the finish line in first place with an official race time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 22 seconds.
GG's Nep on your victory over Rev and advancing your team of the Titans Mitts onto the conference finals. Looks like actually right after that, the simultaneous boss kill on Rev's side from Argus. He does forfeit out the race. Very, very well played on both runners' side. This was quite the match to watch.
And we'll see if we can get Nep in here for an interview. Rev did mention in the race time room that they will be passing on the interview, so we want to wish them well this evening.
Yeah, certainly get your G's out in chat for Rev if you haven't. And actually for the entire team of Did You Check Your Boots, because, unfortunately for them, and I think also probably for the rest of us, we're also hoping for a Game 5 for co-op veterans. This is going to be the end of the tournament line for Rampant Revenant and Tam and Werfjig of Did You Check Your Boots. But meanwhile, hi, Nep. GG's.
Thanks. That was exhausting.
So, walk us through how you felt after you picked up your Titans Mitts.
I honestly did not know how to feel about that because when I first walked in there, the red guard just instantly went straight for me. And so there was no good way to deal with that at the time. So I thought, I'm just going to die here and end up walking all the way to Costa Rica again. So I'm going to put it off. And then it was just kind of like, well, maybe Revenant came up with a way to get it done. And, I'm very behind here. Maybe not. I'm not going to try to second guess this. I'm just going to keep playing like there's a possibility I could still win. And then I was just kind of coasting on that energy for a while until Ice Palace, at which point my morale went up a lot because I survived that terrible last room with the chain chomp despite foolishly not buying a blue potion beforehand. And not having an invincibility item or anything. I got through that. I just was thinking, well, even if I lose, I want a moral victory, not dying there.
Yeah, that anti-fairy and the combination of the chain shops, really, I mean, you took quite the beating, and I think you just barely eked out in order to get the drop down, right?
Yeah, I think I was like maybe at best a fifth of a second ahead of the chain chomp hitting me.
So I guess, was there ever a point in this race where you, I guess besides you got a morale boost from Ice Palace, were there other points in the race where you actually felt like, okay, this is potentially going my way? Like, did you feel better, because you ended up getting, so because you delayed the myths, right? You ended up getting the mirror out of Escape as a consequence before then, so that when you do your South World loop, you got Hammer and you got boost. Like, did that make you feel a little bit better?
It did actually, because once I found that hammer and I didn't die in Ice Palace, I started to think, okay, I had a lot of things go wrong and they were very slow and unrewarding, but there's other things that could have happened if I'd gotten the mid sooner and chased those, so maybe this is okay. Can't really tell, but I just kept trying to be positive. And then the whole thing with the hook shot happened and I just didn't know how to feel.
Oh, right. I forgot about the hook shot.
Yeah, I was praying for a required Trinex in GTs, so that's why I bought all the safeties, because I was thinking maybe I'll have an Ice Trinex, and then it'll all be okay. But no, not even at the Lambo 2 spot. I did look, since I had time to wait out this delay for joining the interview, the Ice Boss was blind.
Oh, so we finally had something that was not a Vitreous.
Yeah, this seed really, truly was the Vitreous buffet. How many was it? Were you counting?
I think it was a
Dante-
total of 5.
Yeah, Dante in fact counted pre-race and said we could have 5 Vitriuses in this Chaos boss shuffle. And, here we are. So, you know what? Dante might not have cursed your first room, but he certainly made an impression on the seed.
Oh, that's too funny.
I apologize to both you and Revenant for invoking that. I mean, Vitreous, you guys did very well with all of those Vitreous fights. But man, no one wants to live through it, right? As far as like having to do it.
So one thing I'm curious about, I know that I nearly full cleared, but there were a couple spots I didn't touch. Did an invincibility item happen to show up on Revenant's side?
Yes. So Revenant, so kind of a quick breakdown. Revenant did the South Dark World loop before having the mirror, therefore isolating that hammer, also isolating the boots for a while, and then after getting the mirror and flippers, went north to Graveyard Ledge to get over to like Catfish Pod area, and the blue cane was at the Graveyard Ledge.
Oh, okay. Well, if I'm gonna miss something at Graveyard Ledge, I'll take that it was that. Managed without it somehow. But aside from that, the things that felt bad about this seed, I had fun with the Randomizer aspects of it. This is a pretty tough one, all things considered. But I like it that way. It made it fun and intense.
Intense was putting it very lightly. You know, both you and Rev, actually, I guess more so you, because, you know, Rev actually had the greater fortune of early Dark World access and therefore got his first 2 swords out of, you know, Thieves Town and Village and Hype Cave pretty quickly. But before then, when you guys were both swordless, the bomb skills that you both have were actually very, very impressive.
Well,
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, both of you did very well early game because there were literally no safeties for either one of you for the longest time, and you had no offense except the bombs. So both of you did I thought, a fantastic job of utilizing your resources through all that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting having to go through Hera, and I think I used exactly the right number of bombs. That was so nerve-wracking, because if I ran out, I was going to be heartbroken.
Yeah, well, I mean, from our perspective, it just looked like you had everything planned, right? Because you had just the right number of bombs, you know, for Hera. You had just basically had the right number of bombs for Escape. You had just the right number of arrows for basically every Vitreous fight. I mean, I was just like, wow, this resource management is pretty on point.
It definitely was fun, and even though that didn't pay off much, I was glad that I got to have that kind of experience on stream, because it's fun to watch, I'm sure. Maybe not for everyone, but for someone, it's fun to watch.
It was quite fun, yes, to watch in this case. I don't know. I mean, I'm really glad that you had fun playing the seed, because I'm not sure if that's a universal opinion of someone who had to basically go through the seed. And of course, the same for you, Revenant. I mean, like, you know, you both basically put on, as Dante had said multiple times throughout the seed, quite the clinic. I mean, execution was certainly very much on point.
Yeah, there's just a lot of you guys managed a lot of pitfalls very well, both of you, and I thought that, you know, proved, you know, the skill level you guys have as far as both of you adapting on the fly to, whatever the game throws at you. So, yeah, kudos. So Nep, your team's advancing and playing against Skull Kids. Any thoughts on those matchups? Are you ready to lose as much as I am?
Isn't that your team too, Dancy? I was gonna ask
Yeah,
you this.
I'm ready to lose again, maybe.
My feeling is this ties our personal best of making it to the general semifinals, I think, overall. And so it would be nice to advance further, but I'm just gonna give it my best, try to play well, make good decisions, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. We're still gonna have fun, put on a good show. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, that I think, you know, I don't know. This just sounds like I'm tooting our own horn, and I'm not. I think it's going to be, even if did you check your boot advance? Like, the next series is going to be a really fun one to watch. You know, I'm kind of grateful we're going to be able to be a part of that, and yeah, should be fun next week.
Definitely. In fact, I think because of the pendant arrangement, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're going to have a rematch between you and the runner-up in the main tournament, so that's going to be exciting.
Is it Gamma? Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
so should be a really good good watch for everybody. And for those who, you know, watch the main tournament, you know, I won game 1, Gamma won game 2, I won game 3. So if the trend continues, I guess it's time for Gamma to win. And that would not be shocking in the slightest. Gamma's playing very well. That whole team is getting down to top 4. I think is, you know, everyone's kind of proven that they belong there at that point, I think.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I guess I'm curious, because your team is advanced, do you know who ends up getting the first choice of game 3? Like, what mode? Is it going to be your team, or is it going to be Skull Kids?
We do. As the way it works, I think, with the tiebreakers. Drosy, if you're in chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we had the better record by 1 game, so therefore I think we get the first choice. I'll wait. I'll have to wait and see what, you know, the rest of the admins say. I forgot.
Sounds good. So I guess I was curious because, you know, so, you know, as you guys just mentioned, it was you and Gamma facing off in the main tournament, but, you know, that was a hard standard the entire way through. You know, the playoffs, you know, have a bit more creativity in terms of modes, right? I mean, we have maybe something kind of similar in that we have, I guess, hard, what is it, MC Shuffle, kind of standard-ish, I guess. But Ambrosia, you know, Randomizer, well, not probably
There's a whole
quite,
lot.
you know, the normal hard standard you're used to.
Well, I think we should start wrapping things up. What do you think, Clear Mouse?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I think we've, you know, this was quite the race, you know, for Randomizer. Of course, GG's once again to Nep and Rev, and of course, congratulations, Team Titans Myths. Welcome if you're out there listening, you know, and Dante and Nep for advancing on to the playoffs, or the finals, sorry, for conference. I'm certainly going to look forward to your match against Skull Kids. So time to take a break for the next couple days until then. Yeah, so of course, you know, thank you so much, of course, Nep and Rev, for racing and putting on such an amazing clinic of execution and really exciting race for us to watch. Thank you so much to our tracker, Iker, for yeah, multiple instances basically to keep Dante and I very much in line, keeping track of everything. Dante, thank you again so much for doing commentary. Hopefully, it wasn't too stressful watching.
This was a blast. I've said it before. One of the most fun experiences I've had commentating was a race where our team got eliminated in the playoffs back in another season. So win or lose, commentary is always fun, and so yeah, this was a great time. And thank you, Iker, again, because I leaned very heavily on Iker today, just because of counting items, and they did a fantastic job of keeping us in line. But yeah, GG's to both runners yet again, and I think that's going to do it for us. So hope you guys join us for the next one.
Yeah, keep your eye on the schedule. I think there is actually one upcoming game on Wednesday, at least for Invitational League. But definitely keep your eyes on the schedule.
Yeah, let's plug that real quick. December the 15th, that's Wednesday. At 5:25 p.m. We don't have a channel for that yet, but that is going to be one of those Retrance races you guys have wanted to see. It's going to be Futon and Solski versus Error and Big Dunka. So that's going to be for all the marbles as far as getting to the conference finals on the other end of the bracket. And then 2 days later, on Friday at 7:10 p.m., we have Dr. Martio versus In the Name of DT. That is going to be their Game 4. I do not have a channel for that either. Also don't have the game modes at the moment. The spoilers are up, I think, 2-1 on that series.
Yes,
so Marty could close it out. Otherwise, we might get another Retrance over the weekend, guys. We might get a lot of Retrance this week, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it seems like it's everyone, you know, everyone's really anxious to watch the race. I'm not sure how anxious the runners are to actually play.
Exactly.
It should be really exciting.
But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Thank you again to SpeedGaming, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yep, have a good night.